Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I'm back again with another review, this being the big one for the month of April, and that is, of course, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, the hot new RPG from France, inspired by the classics that came out of the 90s, particularly those from Japan in particular, with its turn-based style combat, and given a decidedly French twist and narrative. So yeah, I mean, I've been following this game since it was first announced at the Xbox Showcase last June, in June 2024, and I've been a champion for it ever since. A big reason being just how neat it looked, and then of course how good it sounded. The game's original soundtrack was always a standout from moment one. So yeah, and then of course when we learned all the crazy talent involved, you know, making the game and starring in the game, and then yeah, everything just sort of, this was a perfect storm. Everything came together to make a really awesome game that a lot of people are noticing, and it's kind of nice to see that, you know, the mainstream, if you will, or just the people who, you know, normally just sort of zone you out when you're talking to them about what games you're looking forward to. They all sort of jumped onto this because it's like, oh, well, this game's like, yes, this game is really cool. I've been trying to tell people this for 9 months, but hey, you know, I'm glad it got through because it's an awesome game, and its story of getting made is awesome, and you know, hopefully the implications it can have for the future are awesome. And yeah, everything, I don't have a lot, you know, other than it's, you know, everything is awesome here, you know, cue the Lego movie soundtrack. But yeah, this is all come together really well. I do have a couple of tiny nitpicks, if you will. I mean, you know, nothing's really perfect, but let's just dive right in. And of course, the story being the big one, because like it has such a strong, strong start where it's, hey, there's these people living on this little island city, and there's this person or this creature, this giant called the Paintress, who sits in front of a monolith, and at the end of every year she paints a number on this giant monolith, and then everyone above that age of the number dies, vanishes. So all these expeditions are then made from all these soldiers and volunteers to go to the mainland to try to kill the Paintress, to stop her from painting and killing everyone. So you have this really unique sort of setting where everyone in the game, because it's called Expedition 33, meaning, you know, everybody above 34 and above have now passed away. So people have been living this life for 100 years, where starting at 99 and going down to all the way down to 33, people just slowly been losing, you know, everyone above a certain age. And they do a pretty good job of sort of addressing that, especially early on, you know, what that kind of like living under such kind of rules and oppression, you know, are. And yeah, it's very strong. And I really don't want to get into too much spoilers or anything here. I think I will make a video of spoilers in particular, but you know, as far as just general story goes, it's told very well. A big reason for that is because they've got some really big names, and even people who you may not know, the performances are just as good. Like nobody's turning in a weak performance in this game. The entire main cast is all turning in really good performances. You know, of course, you've got Ben Starr, Charlie Cox, and then you have your antagonist with Andy Serkis. You have Caesar himself, and he does a really good job, of course. Surprisingly, though, Andy Serkis doesn't even do his own mocap, because he was actually brought into the project after the mocap was already completed. So it was really just the voice for him, but he does a great job either way. Obviously, he's good with voice acting. We know that. But like the big standouts were all the other performances for the characters of Mael and Lune and Ciel, and so they're all good. Monoko's really good. He's your sort of blue mage character. He's more of a creature, I guess. He's called a Gestural. I guess that's not really too spoilerific, but also a great performance. A wonderful, actually, comedic, sort of like unintentionally comedic, where it's definitely meant to be comedic, but done with sort of a deadpan delivery in such a really brilliant way. So yeah, like without going into spoilers, I just will say that the performances are great, and the charm is just kind of there all throughout the game. And again, like there are these creatures called the Gestrals, which are sort of an endless source of amusement because the way their whole society and like rules and mannerisms work is just tailor made to be fun and interesting and funny, but also can be dangerous as well. So there's a lot to like just sort of like chew on there, which is great. But this kind of leads into like a somewhat of an early nitpick, and I'm again trying not to avoid too much spoilers, but if anything is story wise a little like not 100% perfect, is that it's a problem of not enough in a way where it's like I kind of wish there was more. I wish there were. I actually just wish. Let's just say I just wish there were more NPCs in general in this game. I wish there was more non-main party members to talk to, more conversations to be had, because what is here is actually really great, and I like it, and I like the way the characters bounce off each other. And there's certainly a lot of secrets to find, because the game is truly, if you want to 100% this game, there is truly double the content of the critical path. The critical path is 30 hours, and then it's 60 hours for 100%. It is truly double the amount of story and content and lore hidden throughout this game beyond just the main path. And that's actually really good, because a lot of times you might get an RPG where the crit path is 70% or more of the actual relevant lore to the game, and then all the post game or side stuff is like only marginally important. Where in this game, it feels like it takes a more almost 3D Mario approach, where the crit path is not too long, but there is at least double the content and lore to find if you do the side content and the extra content and even a little bit, post game content as well. So, they did a good thing here, where that also means the pacing is really well. And I feel so weird having to dance around spoiler stuff so much here, but the pacing is really good to a point. In fact, the pacing might almost be a little too fast sometimes. So it's mostly really, really good. But there is some moments where it almost feels like, that we didn't linger on that too long now, did we? Or we're just kind of bouncing right on the next thing. So it can be a little fast. And again, I'm going to try to say this because, hey, I'm in my story segment of the review, but by the end of the game, the biggest criticism, and this is a true, honest, this is like, okay, this is a little more than a nitpick. It kind of feels like the game in the main narrative sideline most of the cast, except for the main antagonists and protagonists when you get to the last chunk of the main story. And it is unfortunate, and it is noticeable to me. It stood out to me. It didn't ruin the game, and it didn't ruin the narrative, but it did stand out, and it did leave a little bit of an unsatisfactory feeling where how sidetracked or how fridged most of the cast of the supporting cast became by the very end. But that being said, the actual theme of this game, the message of this game, is very good. It's very strong. It's very poignant, and I think it's something that a lot of people probably, if they don't need to hear it, they should hear it to be prepared to hear it. I like that, and I really like that there is a good central theme and a good central message of this game that it's trying to convey, and it's a good one, and it's definitely worth seeing through, especially since, again, it is a little bit on the shorter side to crit path it. But yeah, it as good as that theme and message is, it really comes at the cost of like sacrificing pretty much anything to say from the supporting cast. But you'll have to understand what I mean by going through the game. If you have gone through the game, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But going through the game, that is all boiling down to the gameplay. Now, this is a turn-based RPG in the very classic sense. However, it's got a lot of sauce put into it. And normally, I'm really bored and beyond turn-based gameplay. Like, it's fine, but I don't have the desire or want to grind stuff out or whatever. And this game is very much made for people who enjoy action games, but is still for turn-based people, because it has the best turn-based battle system I have ever encountered. The absolute best turn-based battle system. And a large part of that is owed to its very, very generous and very cool parry and dodge system. So in the game, you can dodge every attack, and you have a window for dodging. And if you dodge it right before you get what's called a perfect dodge, and you also have parries. Parries have a shorter window. They only have the window of a perfect dodge, but a parry gives you an automatic counterattack to an enemy. And the wonderful thing about parrying and dodging in this game is that if you successfully do it, you will not take damage. Period. There's no, okay, you're parrying, but you're still going to soak a little bit of damage. No, that doesn't exist. Every single attack in this game is parryable. Everything is dodgeable. The only thing that isn't is sometimes the character might do a status debuff, like a debuff to your character. You can't dodge like the debuff to the party or whatever. It's pretty rare that enemies even do something like that. But yeah, everything in this game is parryable and dodgeable. And you would think maybe that makes the game too easy, but they actually do a really good job of making sure that the game isn't just a cakewalk right from the beginning. There are multiple difficulties as well, which is great for accessibility. And yeah, like you will have to go through and manage stuff. Because the thing is, you might think, well, then there's no point in even managing your stats or doing everything, but there is, because the way the game is built has this thing called a picto system, which is you can have 3 equipped pictos, which are things you pick up, like they're literally like materia. You pick them up off the ground. They're items, and they're items that you equip. And the items will do things like, oh, this will add a percentage. Like, oh, I will give you, 75% extra on a parry attack. So if you successfully parry, you'll get extra boost in damage for the counterattacks, or that's just a very basic one. Or this one will boost your agility a bit. And of course, as you level up, you have a skill tree. You have multiple skill trees. One for just general stats, for like health and attacking and defense and whatever. And you choose how you want to allocate extra resources into what. And then, of course, you have each character has their own individual skill tree because they have spells which are separate from pictos. And then you choose which spells. You can only have 6 spells equipped at a time, but you have to unlock them. And then you decide how you want to go about using them. And then, of course, that's in conjunction with the pictos that you have equipped. And then you can learn the pictos permanently. And then you can make the pictos a permanent equip, and then letting you equip another thing. Because remember, you can only have 3 pictos equipped at a time. So mastering it after winning 4 battles means that you can have it permanently equipped to a character, but that has its own system or own EXP that you have to, which is it's an economy of called luminas, which you have to have certain luminas to have things permanently equipped. And there's a whole system in place to basically make sure that you can min-max and you can test around. Like, this is not a game where you don't have to. I can just ignore everything and just parry and counterattack. It's like, no, you want to do the actual damage. You want to do things that'll actually help you. You actually have to pay attention, and that's not even getting all the other things. You have what's called free aim in a battle, where anytime you can aim with the left trigger and you get a number of free shots. You could shoot, you can aim manually and shoot like an FPS. And everything you do in battle is consumed by attack points, and attack points are gained and lost by doing attacks or parrying or dodging, and then there's pictos on top of that. So there's a whole system that goes into the gameplay to make it that the game is always engaging, you're always on your toes, and there's always something new to equip, always something new to try out. It sounds overwhelming, and I feel like I'm kind of like overselling it or making it sound more complicated than it is. And you don't have to worry about it, because there's so many things you can equip or not equip in the game. And you just read them and you're like, oh, that sounds like really good. Like, if you love parrying, there will just equip things that are good for parrying. If you love dodging, there's things that were made for dodging. There's even pictos for people who are, I'd say I'm bad at parrying and dodging. But there's even a picto, an equipment thing for, you will get AP for getting hit rather than dodging or parrying. For people who just can't get the timing down, you can actually get an item that will then reverse the reward. So it's like, okay, so if you want to play this like a really old school JRPG where like you take turns hitting each other, you can actually play it more like that, and then basically nerf and take away all the real-time stuff that's in the game. So they kind of go out of their way to try to appease all the crowds there, and that's just very commendable. And the system is extremely flexible, it's extremely broken. If anything, It reminds me a lot of Star Ocean, like Star Ocean 2, where there's just so many different things and ways you can approach the battle system in that game and break it. And I'll get into. There's already been a hot fix as of this recording that's come out, kind of nerfing something, and I'm very not happy about that. But I will talk about that in another video. But regardless of whether or not they feel the need to balance adjust their own broken system that's made to be broken, it is still the best turn-based combat I have ever seen in any JRPG. And I play a lot of JRPGs. If you watch this channel, you know this. I am a JRPG guy. This is the best turn-based has ever been. And it will be miserable going back to anything that's not like this, that's turn-based. So other than, like maybe just a couple of weird little like issues or nitpicks here or there or whatever, I really can't say anything wrong about the gameplay other than I don't think there should ever be any balance patches for the gameplay, for the battle system, because I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful in its openness and brokenness. And so just moving on from that, we have the graphics, which is also a game. This is a game that's, the core developer was 33 people developers, and then there was outsourced developers from Korea and other parts of the world. So the reality is there's like somewhere between like 60 to 90 people who worked on this game. The 30 person number thrown around is a bit of a misinformation. Like, I do not want to take away the credit from, say, the Korean developers who did a lot of the battle animations and did a wonderful job on it. So shout outs to them too, as well as the core studio, who did an amazing job. And the game looks way, way too good for even a 60 to 90 person developer. This is like insanely good looking for even that many people or that few people. And I think one of the most commendable things about the game is the fact that it has such a strong art direction that holds through the whole game and is consistent the whole way through. And this is the big major problem in a lot of AAA games, is that there is a million different people and processes and meetings and approvals and signatures you have to get to change the look of a chair in a room. And I am not kidding about this. That's not even exaggeration. That's actually a direct reference to something, where making games with AAA games with big publishers and big budgets, and you want to do anything, you want to change any bit of animation, you want to change any bit of scenery in a room or anything, it has to go through meetings and approvals and up a chain of command. And you can see why that clogs the whole thing, because this game hasn't been in development nearly as long as, say, some other major AAA games, even though it looks as good as it does. This is closer to like a approximately 3 to 4 year development cycle on this game. And in the fact that it looks as good as it does is because they were able to just focus on their work. And this is a testament to good art direction, because a good art director will make sure that the art is consistent throughout the whole game. And that's what happened here. And nobody had to sit there and go through 30 million people through a giant corporation and have meetings on it. If they need something needed to be changed, it could be changed. And you can see here also where there's not anyone coming in saying, oh, this is, I don't know, is that too much or is this too little? So you can definitely feel the freedom and creativity here, and also the direction being rock solid, because nothing, as crazy as things look in this game, and there are some absolutely wild, crazy vistas to have in this game, but it all is consistent. And crazily enough, I think one of the most crazy things too in this game is that some of the most beautiful areas are off the beaten path and not part of the main story. Like, just something you would have to explore later in the game. And some of it is the most beautiful looking stuff. And they're not even small sections. Some sections are big and not part of the main story. And it's pretty crazy that so much beauty and art is just sort of not hidden or just scattered all throughout this game. And really can't say enough good stuff about that. There are, like, again, tiny little things though that kind of somewhat, again, little nitpicks. For one, general navigation, this is a little more gameplay, but outside of battle, general navigating, running, jumping is atrocious. There is a one mini game for one costume for one character that requires you to climb and platform up a very long sequence, and it can be done, but it is the absolute worst platforming you've probably ever experienced in a game. It is, holy God. Like, if someone tried to make a video game that was a platformer based on the controls and physics of this game, it would be one of the worst games ever made. However, 97% of the time in this game, you never have to really worry about platforming at all. There's just, any time that you do, you are reminded, oh my God, this is the most Euro jankiest thing that ever Euro janked. So yeah, the general movement is a little clunky. It's a little weird. And when they want you to platform, it's terrible. But I mean, other than that, it's fine. You can tell where, this is also a game that only had so much time and so many people to throw at it, because as good as the voice acting is, when you get to non-essential cutscenes where characters are just kind of standing and talking to each other one-on-one, it kind of goes into that very Mass Effect style, like animatronic look, where it kind of looks like two of the animatronics in Pirates of the Caribbean are having a conversation with each other with some of the best voice acting you've ever heard. But that's and really that's more boiling down to the fact that this went for, as stylized as this game is, as much art as in this game, they are going for a realistic character design. The character designs are meant to look like real people. And yeah, the uncanny valley can hit if you're paying a little too close attention during non-essential cutscenes where characters are just talking back and forth with, the same scripted canned animation. That's like the only time. But again, that is like, you're looking for that at that point. I do think it would have been interesting to see this game go in a more stylized direction, or maybe not for this game, but maybe for a future game. How cool would it be if the game looked something like a Mobius, graphic novel or something like that? That would seriously blow my dick off pretty good there if they went for something really highly stylized like Mobius or something. But yeah, like the graphics are very good and they punch way above their weight. But again, if you want to really nitpick it kind of falls into the same problem that even AAA RPGs fall into, and that is like canned animations for non-essential cutscenes look like canned animations, and the uncanny valley kind of creeps, rears its head if you're just looking in the right place. And that lastly will bring me to the music, which this, another Cinderella story. Lorien Testard, who is found on SoundCloud from the game's director. And the wonderful thing about it is there's a ton of music, and the music was developed, I think, like the full 5 years of pre-production into post-production of the game. The music was constantly being worked on, and there was a lot of music they wanted. They knew they wanted to do a lot of music, and it all really pays off. Again, there is a metric fuck ton of battle themes, and I don't think there's a single stinker in them at all. They're all great. They're all like top of the line. Some of the best battle themes you've ever heard. The character themes are fantastic. The main theme is fantastic. The reuse of the main theme is beautiful. The event cutscene, the character themes, the battle themes are 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Just the best. The only thing, again, and I'm a music guy, I'm a big video game music guy, is that the field themes and even the world map theme are good. But I wouldn't say they're 11 out of 10 like the other parts of the music, which isn't necessarily bad, because they're not bad. They're good. And some of them do, and some of the field themes do stick in my head a little bit. But they are definitely, they don't hit as hard as any of the other music in the game. They do an interesting thing where as you go through an area, the music builds. So there's like 3 different stages to any general field theme, which I love. And you will get to, when you're getting, when you say you're climbing up something, or getting to the top of an area or the end of an area, and the music has definitely built up to like its third form, and it's fantastic, and I love that. But it never seems to go as hard as the battle, the character, the event themes. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed just a teensy bit, because I was really hoping. I love a good field theme. I love field themes. I love area themes. I love town themes. And yeah, there's a reason. I'm about to spoil something. I'm not going to spoil nothing. But yeah, like the field and town and overworld map themes, they're good. They're very good. 7, 8 out of 10. But the other music, the other parts of the music are 11 out of 10, and the other part is just an 8 out of 10. So it's not even a knock. It's just a kind of a nitpick where it's like, oh, I kind of wish the field themes were went as hard as some of the rest of the themes. But c'est la vie. It's still good. And again, this is probably going to win soundtrack of the year. I think South of Midnight still makes a really good case, but there's just so much more music here than the other game. Both of them use vocals heavily, and both of them use lyrics very tied to the story of their game. So yeah, this is soundtrack of the year, unless something comes along that I don't see, which I don't know, man. I don't know. DK Bonanza, you got your work cut out for you, and especially since it's not David Wise. But yeah, that's gonna be hard to top this for soundtrack of the year. That's the praise I can give this. Is the music pretty much was as good as we heard it was gonna be from the beginning. So all in all, again, I have minor gripes with the game, but and part of me is like, thinking about some of the disappointment of say narrative stuff later on. For the side characters, it makes me want to maybe, is the game, make me want to rate it lower than I should, and I don't think I will. I think I'm going to give this a 9.5 overall. This is exactly the kind of game that I wanted it to be when it was first announced. I'm glad the rest of the world caught on and is picking up to it, because it definitely deserves it. It's really frustrating to see such a really cool game, usually in a JRPG style genre, and it just kind of gets ignored. It's glad to see one get picked up and run away, with success here. They're already past 2 million copies sold, and I hope there's a bright future for this developer, for Sandfall. So very, 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 very happy with this game. Again, it's so few RPGs do I ever go out of my way to fight every fight, do every battle. And, when it comes to just doing all the optional bosses, Final Fantasy 16 was a game I did that with, but I did very little of the optional side content. And it would take, beyond Xenoblade, there's pretty much no other game that I would sit here and be like, oh yeah, I did pretty much everything in the game. I'll do that for Xenoblade 3. I'm not insane. I'm not going to try to do that for 1 or 2. There's just too much in both of those games. But like, this is an RPG where it's not so super long and bloated that you can't do everything in a normal human time frame. Again, 60 hours to 100%, and I did it in less. It took me, I think, closer to like 47, 48, 50, maybe like low 50s to get everything done in this game. I think there was a couple things I still could do, so probably 60 is accurate. So yeah, 60 hours to 100% this game, totally fair. 30 to 100 to critical path, beat it, start to credits, totally fair. But more importantly is the fact that I wanted to do this. I wanted to do all that. I wanted to see all that the game had to offer and throw at me. And that's a very important distinction between, how many games did you 100%? Again, like 16, I did all the boss fights because the combat's super fun in 16, but the rest of the game is bleh. So this was a game where it's like, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the narrative. I enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the battle system. I enjoyed the side content. I enjoyed the post-game stuff. So I did it all, which is unusual. It's doing what it wanted to do, which was harken back to an era of mid to late 90s JRPGs, and it successfully did that. And hopefully it paved a way for others to jump in maybe with their own ideas there. So, yeah, I highly recommend the game, and I encourage everyone to go out and try it and buy it. All right, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the channel. Later, dudes.